This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim pass the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Knick updates and trade rumors? Postgame reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. 12:47, almost 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. I'm sure there's some people watching from the West Coast because the Knicks just defeated the Los Angeles Clippers 116-93. And man, the Knicks needed that. That was like a very, very cold glass of water on a 120-degree day. That was like, ladies and gentlemen, because the Knicks needed to get that victory, especially in the way that they got it, because they built a 26-point lead. And for a second, in the third quarter, well, for more than a second, for a couple of minutes in the third quarter, it felt like it was all going to happen again. The Los Angeles Clippers cut the lead to 12. And Knicks fans all over the world, all over the country, in L.A., New York, Japan, wherever you was at, Poland, was getting a little bit nervous if those people in Japan and Poland were watching at that hour. You know, some of them get up pretty early in the morning so they can watch the Knicks. Anyway, people were stressing. They was worried that the Knicks weren't going to give this game back, but they did not. Not on this night. They did not. They pulled the victory out 116-93. And there were good games all across the board, ladies and gentlemen. All across the board, there were very good games. And they were led by none other than R.J. Barrett, who, you know, just bringing up R.J. Barrett's name for a couple of people who are probably in the chat want to get at me for no reason at all. I'll talk about that a little bit later. They want to get at me for no reason at all because of a video that I put out earlier today when I was actually encouraging R.J. Barrett. But anyway, R.J. Barrett had 24 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 44% from the field and 50% from the three-point line. And he was 7 for 7 from the free throw line, ladies and gentlemen. R.J. Barrett, big game from R.J. Because even in that third quarter, when it looked like the Knicks were going to give it back, R.J. kept him in it. You know what I'm saying? Some big buckets, some big drives to the hoop. Big shout out to R.J. Barrett for playing a big game. Emmanuel Quickly, he played a big game tonight. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. And he did a good job facilitating in that second unit. Fouled Cam a couple of times. R.J. Barrett R.J. Barrett, yes, but Emmanuel Quickly looked really good tonight. And then Cam Reddish had his best game as a New York Knicks. 17 points for Cam Reddish, 4 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from the three-point line. And Cam Reddish was 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Alec Burks, 15 points. Mitchell Robinson continues to let Leon Rose know that he wants his dough, and he wants it in cash, ladies and gentlemen. 12 points, 11 rebounds for Mitchell Robinson. Also 2 blocks. Playing big ball. Julius Randle only shot 25% from the field. He was 2 for 3 from the free throw line. 10 points, 8 rebounds. Evan Fournier, 7 points. Jericho Sims, 4 points and 11 rebounds for Jericho Sims tonight. Yeah, the New York Knicks played a good basketball game. Their best game in 2022, that's without a doubt. Maybe their best game of the season, I don't know. Actually, the Knicks almost played their best game of the season against Phoenix the other night, but they ended up losing it. But tonight they played very, very well against the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers were led in scoring by Isaiah Hartenstein. That lets you know all you need to know about the Clippers' night. All right, they were led by Isaiah Hartenstein. And then next, Terrence Mann. Well, Hartenstein had 14 points, 4 assists. Terrence Mann had 11 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Reggie Jackson, 10 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Luke Kennard, 10 points. And I'm sorry, Amir Coffey actually led the Clippers in scoring with 16 points, and Hartenstein had 14 points. But that lets you know everything you need to know about the Los Angeles Clippers on this night. One thing you will notice is Ty Lue recognized very early that the Clippers were not going to come back in this game. Put those young guys in and said, hey, you go ahead and hoop it up. We're going to save the old legs for tomorrow's night game. Tomorrow night's game or Tuesday night's game, whenever they play. But the Knicks, ladies and gentlemen, whatever with the Los Angeles Clippers, the New York Knicks got a big win tonight. 116-93 over the Los Angeles Clippers. Tony Crowe, what's popping with you, brother? How you feeling?
What's good, Sim? Shout out to the chat. Ill Black is time. And pay that man. Don't forget that. It's the new one. Pay that man until Mitchell gets paid. Great win. Great win. We needed it, like you said. Couple things that stood out. Obviously, Mitch is on a campaign. Mm-hmm. Cam, like, he's got me excited. I think he's gonna make Tibbs have to. He's forcing him to make a decision.
Got to
with his play.
It's got to.
He's been active defensively, not so much on ball, but definitely passing lanes. And then, we seen the recovery play a couple games ago after the turnover, had the chase down, steal or block, whichever it was. But, yeah, I like him. I think the fans like him. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Mm-hmm. And but I think he's forcing himself to get more minutes, more opportunities.
Tom Thibodeau has to see it. There's nobody on the team that can do what Cam does. And that means a lot because what he does is use his length to penetrate, to play defense. He can bust open zones, not by knocking down a three, but through penetrating through the zone, right? And he's the only player that has the type of athleticism that he has. And this is not anything against Obi. It's a different type of athleticism, right? Obi can jump up real high and dunk. Cam can use his body to get around people while he's in the air. You've seen it tonight, right? Got on the lane, jumped up, scooped his arm around, layup. Like he can. There's no one else on the team that can do that. The Knicks need that. You know what I'm saying? Because it creates, that's why Cam goes to the foul line a lot. If you realize, when Cam is in the game, he always gets to the line because of the way he's able to use his body. And he has exceptional footwork. I know he got called for a couple of travels tonight, and they were travels because you got to land on a jump stop or you got to land on 2 feet with that jump stop, right? He takes one step to get in the air, and then if you come down in 1-2, that's going to be a travel. So when you take that one step to get in the air, you got to come down on 2 feet and then spring back up. So they were travels. But he probably has the best footwork on the team. You know what I mean? And you can utilize that to use him to score buckets, to score. You're right. He's forcing Tom Thibodeau's hand, and there's no way that Tom Thibodeau can't see it. That this guy is needed to be out there on the floor. He just adds something that the Knicks don't have. What we hope that Kevin Knox would be able to add, Cam Reddish adds.
I was waiting for you to finish just so I could reiterate that. And it's funny because even some of the same knocks, no pun intended, against the both of them was kind of like questioning their motives. The difference is, one, he's a lot more active defensively from jump.
Yeah.
And I think he utilizes more of his skills that we talked about. Like
right.
Knox you can see the physical, like you could imagine what he should be able to do. You just never seen him attempt it or do it. And Cam at least does that, and then kind of wows you at it at times, like because he can finish with it.
Yeah, because Cam has just better body control than Kevin Knox. Right? And he may have better body control than anybody else on this basketball team, to be honest with you. You know, he has great body control, which allows him to get to the line. I mean, this guy, he can live at the line, really. So I really want to see him play more and more. Obviously, coming down the stretch of this season, you're going to see him play more and more. But I want to see the minutes go up, even when Obi comes back and, you know, whoever comes back to play. I want to see his minutes continue to go up. You know?
And Sen,
yep.
Real quick, I just wanted to point out, I think Obi does have real good body control.
He does.
I think the difference is he doesn't have the mobility and like slick slidness that Cam has. So it limits, you know what I mean? Like he has to work within himself with his body control, where Cam can kind of like naturally create it himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
He can lead himself into it.
Yeah, I mean, Cam has the better footwork, the natural footwork. Like his body control and all of that stuff is natural. You don't even have to think about it. It just comes. It's natural. You know what I mean? And I love when they go small. Randle's at the 5 and Cam Reddish is at the 4, and RJ's also in the game. I like that lineup. You know, I think that's a tenacious lineup that, while you don't have a 7-footer on the floor, if you're playing against another team that has a small lineup, you know what I mean, they can still be a good defensive team because Cam Reddish has length. Julius Randle has, you know, some power down low. RJ Barrett can play defense. You know what I mean? And he's strong, right? You know, normally they have Alec Burks out there on the floor and then another guard, Emmanuel Quickly. I think was out there with those guys tonight when he went small. Or maybe Evan Fournier. But, you know, I'm looking at if you have Emmanuel Quickly out there, you know, he's been playing some really good defense. You know, you can put a small defensive lineup on the floor that can run and that can shoot. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Cam Reddish is earning his way into Tom Thibodeau's heart. That's what you got to do on this team. You got to earn your way into his heart. Once you get into his heart, you ain't leaving. That's you in there. You in there. You know what I'm saying? Once you're in his heart, that's it. So, you know, Cam Reddish is earning his way in. Let me get to a super chat. Then I'm going to talk about RJ Barrett, because I just want to address a couple of people. They were upset with my video. All right. I don't even know why, Tone, but they was upset with my video. I want to address a couple of people. And if y'all listening, perk your ears up because I'm talking to you. Then we'll get to some phone calls and some things like that. So let me get to this super chat real quick. All right. Big shout out to Kareem Jones. Thank you for the super chat. Said, and let me get that super chat off of my face. You know what I mean? So that everybody can see it a little bit better. I thought I had it set up that way. Anyway, okay. Well, good. He said, good win, but Tom has to trust in everyone on the team. You can't tell me that if you play the rest of the players that they won't produce. Josh is right about our foundation being good. Tom. I mean, the thing is, I agree. You do have to play, you know. You can look at a night like tonight, and people are going to say, see, if you play the players, you win. But you can also look at tonight and say, did the Knicks win because he played the players, or did the players play because the Knicks were winning? You dig what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to look at it that way, too.
We haven't been in this position before in a game to where, or very, maybe twice, you know, before this game, have we been in a position where we could put the young guys in and rock out with them.
Right.
One time they actually won the game, you know what I mean? And one time they rocked out, but it was a blowout all game.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, there we go. I got it fixed so it looks a little bit better. So, yeah, Korean, I'm not disagreeing with you. You know, I'm not disagreeing with you. I do think that Tom Thibodeau, you know, can use, like, when you look at the third quarter, you know, He didn't start subbing until later on in the third quarter. And then, what happens? People start to get tired. And then he does throw out a couple of subs. And you still got Mitch and Randle and Fournier on the floor, with a minute to go in the third quarter. You can assume that those guys are probably getting a little bit tired. We talked about it all season long. The distribution of minutes, is where my concern is. And I'm pretty sure everybody, all New York Knicks fans, was watching in that fourth quarter and saying, if Tom Thibodeau brings in Evan Fournier and Julius Randle, I'm going to lose my brain. I know everybody was looking at it saying that. I know it. And they seen Julius Randle get off the bench. I bet you people, they had the remote in the air like this. And then when Julius Randle sat back down, they said, okay, and they put their remote back down. I know they did, Tony. I know they did. But before I get to this phone call here, because I got Spree on the line, before I get to Spree, let me address a couple of people, man. I'm not even going to say your name. I'm just going to address you. Because I did a video, Tony, and the video was entitled RJ Barrett. It was entitled RJ Barrett, a volume shooter, ? Right? And what I did is I broke down the amount of shots that RJ Barrett has taken after the All-Star break per game. Right? So up until tonight, RJ Barrett took 18 shots tonight. But up until tonight, he's been taking 23 shots a game. On 30 points per game, though. Averaging 30 points a game. His efficiency was, 41% from the field, 35% from the three-point line. Right? So, I pointed out all that information. Then I asked the question, is this where you think RJ Barrett should go? And then I followed it up by saying, I'm cool with RJ Barrett taking this amount of shots because it's not like he's pounding the basketball. It's not like he's taking 15 seconds off the shot clock before he shoots it. And it's not like he's taking wild shots all over the place. I feel like he's taking quality shots. He's taking good shots. So I want him to continue to shoot the basketball. As long as you're taking good shots, shoot as many shots as you want to, or as you need to, or that you are allowed to shoot because you're taking quality shots. And I feel that RJ Barrett takes quality shots. And for some reason, a couple of people out there thought that I was coming at RJ Barrett and saying something negative about RJ Barrett. So I'm going to, and I'm only talking to a few. One of the guys, we figured out that we was on the same page. A couple other guys, I'm just going to tell you this. Make sure you listen to the video in its entirety before you make an assumption of what I'm talking about. I'm okay if he's a volume shooter. A volume shooter just means you shoot a lot of shots. It could be efficient or inefficient. But the question was about RJ Barrett and the number of shots he was taking and if you think this is good for him. And the reason why the video came up at this time is because it marks a significant change in his development and growth as a player. Normally, RJ Barrett's taking about 15 shots a game. Over that stretch, he's taking 23 shots a game. That's a lot. So it marks a significant change. There's nothing negative about RJ Barrett. So I just wanted to clear that up. But anyway, let's talk about RJ, Tony. Let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Let's talk about RJ.
Hold up. I thought you was going to Spree. Spree still there?
No, he's not on the line. He's got to come back on the line.
All right, I got you. RJ. I mean, to your point, if he's taking more shots, naturally, I think he's gonna his percentage is gonna go down, or at least at times. You know what I mean? He has to adjust to those taking those more shots. I don't know why you would think that you're taking shots at RJ by questioning it, rather than just answering. You know what I mean? Your thoughts on should he be in that role or should he tone it down some? But I love what I'm seeing from him.
Me too.
I think it's all comes within the flow of the game, and when he takes over, he takes initiative, but it doesn't seem. It's not like he's out of out of sync with, where his teammates are looking at him like, yo, what are you doing?
What you doing?
You know what I
Why
mean?
you-
They're looking for him as well.
Right.
So I love it. And I also disagree with the narrative. I don't know if you've heard it, but that Randle's jealous of his emergence.
I've heard it. I've heard it.
But that's a topic for another pod.
I mean, we can even get into that because I think it's crazy. There's enough shots to go around. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta be. I really don't think it's like that. And the question has been out there. How come Randle never plays good when RJ's playing good, and vice versa, and this and that? I think it's just because the team is inconsistent. Bottom line.
Why not imagine what it would look like when they play good together?
They play good together. Right.
You know what I mean? Or
Right.
imagine like what it would take for them to kind of gel a little bit better.
Right. And click a little. And the thing is, they don't play off one another. And I don't think it's because they don't like each other. They clearly do. It's because that's the way the offense is designed, to have one on either side of the floor. You know what I mean? So they don't get a chance to play off of one another much. A little bit, when Randle kicks it out, and you see times when Randle has the ball in his hands and he'll call for RJ to do something. And I've seen times tonight when RJ is telling Randle, hey, go over there and let's do this and let's do that. So if you really pay attention to the game, you're starting, you do see them guys communicate and tell and say, let's run this play for you, for me, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, you see times when Randle's clapping for the ball and RJ instead takes a couple more dribbles and Randle's like, but that's what happens when you play basketball. That's what happens. So, I really do want to kill that narrative that people are putting out there, that there's this, there's this battle, them two are butting heads about who's going to be the man on the team. I don't think it's like that. You know what I mean? And I think it's clear, and I think Julius Randle sees it too, that RJ Barrett is rising. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Accept it. And make it work like that. That helps the team. It
helps the team. And right now, or at least over the past 3 months, RJ Barrett has been the more versatile scorer. Right? The way that he's able to get to the basket. See, last year, RJ Barrett was getting to the basket really just one way, penetrating down that left side, and he would miss the layup. Right? People were frustrated that he was missing the layup. He's penetrating down that left side still, but he's making the layups now. You know what I'm saying? And then now he's got the little boom, 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 I'm going left, right? And I jab, spin back, and fade away. Knock that down. Now he's coming off of a screen. Someone sets a screen, boop, boop, pulling up the mid-range, knocking that down. So you're really seeing the versatility of his skills, of his skill set. And he's knocking those shots down, and he's more comfortable and more confident shooting those shots. You know what I mean? I really like that I'm seeing him go off the dribble more, because you didn't see it much over the first 2 seasons. You didn't see him take a couple of dribbles, pop, pop, and then come off his toes and pull up, bang. You know what I mean? You're seeing that a whole lot more off of screens, or sometimes even with somebody in front of him. And from the way that I see it, that's going to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. And he's going to get smoother doing it and more confident doing it. You know what I mean? And then, right now, he's shooting 68% from the free throw line. And I feel confident that he'll get that up to 80%. I don't know if it'll be by next year, but he'll get that up to 80%. When he gets up to 80% shooting from the free throw line, and he's going to the line like he does, he'll be, he might average 25, 26 points, and he's rebounding. And he's getting more assists. RJ's playing a complete basketball game. There's nothing Julius Randle can do about that. The best thing that he can do about it is play better, but accept it and say, hey, this guy can score. That's going to make it easier for me. Let me get this guy the ball in his hands. You know what I mean?
And he does.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So, it's craziness to me. It's craziness to me, but I get it. And, our Julius Randle has his own issues that are unrelated to R.J. Barrett. Right? Totally unrelated to R.J. Barrett. He has his own issues that he's got to deal with, and I don't think they're related to R.J. Barrett whatsoever. You know what I mean? Let me get to a phone call. All right? It's not Spree. I'm sure Spree will call back. Get to a phone call, talk about some other people. Caller, you live. Name me where you're from, please.
What up? My name is Ayub.
Ayub, what's good, brother? How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, man. I just want to talk about the IQ real quick.
Yeah.
I know y'all remember like 2 months ago, the whole chat. Trade IQ, trade him. He's not a point guard. He's not that. But my thing is, he doesn't have to be a point guard. He can just be a basketball player. Like, whenever he's on the floor, we look good.
Here's the thing, and this is not an IQ problem. This is a New York Knicks problem, right? The Knicks need that guy who can be the leader, settle the team down, et cetera, et cetera. And I think what a lot of people feel about IQ is that he's not that guy, right? Because he's never settled. You know what I mean? And this doesn't mean that he can't make good plays. Doesn't mean he doesn't make good plays. But it's erratic right now. You know what I mean? He'll have nights like this, and then he'll have nights where he's nowhere close to this.
Yeah, I understand. But people on Twitter, as soon as IQ touches the ball, they're talking about get the ball away from him. He's going to take a bad shot. I understand he takes bad shots, but just give the guy like some time to grow. He's still 22, and me personally, his ceiling, he can be our point guard. The floor right now, he's just like a bench piece. A good bench piece.
Yeah, I agree. He is. I mean, let's not act like he. Listen, he definitely dominates the ball when he's in the game. Right, the ball is in his hands, and he's dominating the ball. He's looking for that screen so that he can switch onto a big guy and then try to break down the big guy. There's no doubts about it. He does. I still believe that he needs to find some balance in his game. You know what I mean? And how he plays off the ball a little bit, can play on the ball, clean up the erratic shooting. And I don't mean just field goal percentage, but decision making, shot selection, et cetera, et cetera. But you're right. He's a second-year player. He's a second-year player. He's got a lot to learn.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, just give the guy some time to grow and has a fan base. Can we just stop writing players off like as soon as they start playing bad and we just call them bad?
I agree.
How about coaches?
I agree 100% with you, Ayub. I agree. You heard Tony said, what about coaches?
Coaching is like a different thing, though. Like I understand Tibbs. He had a great year last year, and now he stinks. There has to be a reason why he stinks. Me personally, I can't figure it out. But to me, I would give him like a third year to see if he's bad or like if he's back to first year Tibbs.
Right. Well, I'll say this. I think this is for any coach. If you have an incomplete roster or an unbalanced roster, then you're going to have incomplete and unbalanced rotations, because you're trying to figure out, what works the best. And I say it all the time, what we see as fans while we're watching the game is going to be totally different than what a coach sees when you're standing on the sideline. And, I would challenge anyone to coach and talk to me about your decision-making when you're actually in there coaching. It's difficult. It's hard. And it doesn't mean that he can't do a better job, because he can. He's got to figure out. That's his job. That's what he's paid to do, to figure out how to make better rotations or better decisions or whatever it is. Whatever it is. Adjustments. He's got to figure that out. That's his job. That's what he does. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. It's much easier said than it is done. When you get out there
look at all the top team, the Warriors, the Nets, the Bucks, all the fan bases, they all complain about their coaching, but they're still, contenders, and they're still trying to win championships. But, all coaches are not perfect.
That's without a doubt. I don't think any coach is ever perfect. You know what I mean? They're as perfect as their roster is for the most part, for most coaches. But hey, you, man, I appreciate you. Thank you for the call. Be cool out there in Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa. I know
All right.
it's probably you never probably heard of it.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it. Just wondering how a Knicks fan gets out there.
Yep. I don't know how, but it's just a Knicks fan.
All right.
Well,
hey,
that's what's up.
That's what's up. We need you to stay with the family, bro. Stay with the family. Appreciate it, AU.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. What's your thoughts, man, about quickly, Tone?
Excuse me. All right, I was one of those people, not necessarily saying trade him, but that Grimes has made him tradable. And if when we was talking about hypothetical trades for this guy, that guy, yeah, I definitely was one of the people who didn't mind including quickly. We got to give up somebody in the trade, and most likely, if it's multiple pieces, one of them is going to be a piece that you don't like, like whomever is listening. You know what I mean? Like, so you got to give up something of value. But what I will say is this: all this time with him running the point guard position, I think ultimately that might be what helps him when he's back at the 2. Mm-hmm. And like that might calm him down a little. He might look and see things that he didn't see before when strictly coming in as a shooter, and that being it. And his defense has been stellar. Like I can't even lie. Like you might even make a fair argument saying he should start at point because of how good he's been playing defense this year in particular.
Yeah, he's definitely been playing good defense this year, without a doubt. I do want to spotlight a comment from somebody. Then I'm going to get to my man Spree, who's on the line. Julian Trans said, Randle would be a monster if he accepts that he's a number 2 or a number 3. And I guess on this team, who's to say that when you get a legitimate number 1, that he's not going to accept that he's a number 2 or number 3, or when RJ Barrett is solidified, it is solidified that he's the number 1. Who's to say that he doesn't accept it? Everyone just assumes that he doesn't and will not accept it. I don't assume that at all. And I do agree. I think he will be a monster. I would say more of a monster in the third man role. I think. You know what I'm saying? In the secondary role, it's still, I don't know. I don't know. The problem is right now we don't have a legitimate number 1. RJ Barrett is still growing in that. He's still growing. Right? He's still growing and still growing in the mindset, still growing in his skill set. You know what I mean? And that's the issue. But who's to say that when RJ Barrett really fully snatches the role, and maybe that'll be next year, or the Knicks get somebody that Julius Randle isn't like, okay, I'm going to rock with doing this. Who's to say? Go ahead, Tone. Then I'm going to get to you.
We was literally just talking about this before we started.
Right. Exactly.
Literally just talking about it. And I seen the comment in the chat, and I don't know why I didn't start it, so I got excited when you put it up. Because exactly, who's to say he wouldn't accept the role? And then my question is, with RJ emerging, even though the emergence is relatively recent, I would have to really look back and study to see where where Randle kind of lost everybody. But I could state definitely when he did the thumbs down thing, the very next game, RJ had a real good game, and I know RJ was in a bad slump early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And he handled the media very well when talking about that situation, because the very next question was, the how do you feel about them screaming RJ, RJ, RJ? And he kind of smiled and said, "I love it. I hope it don't stop." But my point is, even if he's like, whether he's accepting it or not, can we at least acknowledge the difficulty of the transition into that? Because clearly RJ wasn't that guy last year.
Right.
Like he's clearly better than he was last year, right? Whether he's number one already or he's trending to it, he wasn't. You know what I mean? That wasn't the option. That he wasn't that guy last year. So now, if Randle's recognizing this, he has to see it, understand it, believe it. You know what I mean? It's a transition process, even in that, especially when it's not like you was transitioning from being a number 2 to a number 3, or you was the guy. you know what I mean? So that's hard in itself.
Yeah.
Whether this, what I mean, before you say he's not going to do it, acknowledge how difficult it is to do.
Right. You know what I mean? And the difficulty may not be in I'm mad at RJ. It may be, okay,
adjusting.
How do we make this work on the court? Because clearly this guy can do some things that I can't. How do we make this work on the court? Where do I fit? When do I get the ball? How do I get the ball? All of those things. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Ala Wise. He said, Randle gets paid like a legit 2 or 3 anyway. And that's the truth. That's the truth. He's been getting paid like that since he came to the New York Knicks. It's just that he was the highest paid player on the Knicks, although when you compare his salary to league-wide salaries, he's getting paid like a 2 or 3 anyway. You know what I mean? And that's why he'll be getting paid for the next 4 years or whatever it is, as if he's a number 2 or 3, So, let's, I guess, let's see where it happens, see where it goes. I'm just glad the Knicks were able to pull the win out tonight, because they've been building over the last 7-8 games. Just about all of them, they've built a double-digit lead, and they gave up double-digit leads in all of those games. Finally, they were able to lock this one away. And I'm pretty sure, just like for the fans, there was a point in time where it was nerve-wracking for the Knicks. It got to that 12-point lead, and I'm sure they were looking like, damn, we're about to do it again. And I know it was in their minds. It had to be in their mind. You know what I mean? And for it not to happen, has to feel good. Has to feel good. Spree, what's popping, bro?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. How you feeling?
Spree.
Oh, man. It was a good win.
Yeah.
McBride and Cam, they can stay in front of their man.
Mm-hmm.
Enough. That's one of my big observations. I mean, it's hard to stay in front of your man in the NBA, but on this roster, McBride and Cam can stay in front of their man more than most of the people on this team. Look, I'm not a practice, so I'm not going to sit here and say after one game this is what it should have been the whole time. I'm just a fan, okay? All I know is this. Jericho Sims, Cam Reddish, and Miles McBride all have things in their game that could have helped this team.
Well, Cam wasn't here from the beginning, so.
Yeah.
Right. He wasn't here from the beginning. Jericho Sims, Miles McBride. It's, if when Nerlens Noel's healthy, is Jericho Sims better than him? Right now you might say, yeah, with the way he's looking. He's grabbing 11 rebounds. When he's out there, he can probably get you double-digit rebounds if he's playing 20 minutes a game. Is he going to block shots? Maybe not.
Yeah, I just like that he's strong.
Yeah.
I like he's strong, and I like that he sets good screens. He's not I know he's a little raw, but, I don't know. I just think he's only going to get better. And Miles McBride, to me,
maybe he's only going to get better. I mean, he's going to get better some. I don't know how much more than doing what he does. Now, setting screens, he's great at.
Yeah.
I mean, he's old. Not old, but, he's 23 years old, right? Same age as Mitchell Robinson. How much more does he have to go? I don't know. But he can contribute. I'm not saying he can't contribute. He can definitely contribute. You see it tonight.
I mean, I don't know. I just, Mitch, I remember his first few games in the NBA, and he looked overwhelmed. I don't see Jericho Sims looking overwhelmed on the court. And this is not taking a shot at Mitch because Mitch is playing great, but, I just think Jericho is going to be good. I'm not saying he's going to be incredible, I see a guy that is strong. He can set good screens, and he's not going to, I think he'll do the right things on the court. I look at Miles McBride. I don't really know what he is yet, but what I do know is he can stay in front of his man enough that can help the team. I don't know anything else about him. I'm not going to make exaggerations. One thing I'll say about Cam that you're right, that you said earlier in the show, Sam, Cam can get to the basket in ways that nobody, and RJ's getting to the basket a lot. He does that Euro thing. He's got the left hand, and I don't know why they let him keep going left. But Cam can actually get to the basket differently than anybody else on the roster. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. He has so many different ways to get to the basket.
I like it.
Yeah.
And I don't even care that they call travels. You know what? He'll adjust. Some of them don't even call that. It's
right.
Sometimes they will, and they were travels. But Cam is smart. I think he's good. And one last thing I want to just say about Julius. I don't want to end on a negative, but I'll say this and I'll say it again. With the way RJ's scoring the ball, this is my plea to Julius Randle. You could score 0 points, okay? I really believe this, Sam. I'm not crazy. Just maybe you disagree. You could score 0 points, and I still think the Knicks can win by 50 if he just plays the game the right way. What I mean by that is roll hard, draw the double, get the assists, get the rebounds, at least make the second effort on defense, contest the three. If he does all the other things, I don't really care about Julius scoring the ball. I know there's going to be times where I am going to care, Sim, but I don't care about it. Because that comeback was, I'm not going to lie, I'm not trying to hate on Julius, but a reason why it got to 12, Sim, was we put it, and this is where a point guard comes in, but they threw it to him. And what happened with Julius with the ISO? Slow decision, turnover, or a bad shot. And I hate when he tries to draw the IQ little fouls, which he gets sometimes, but he's not IQ. I'm frustrated.
Well, I mean, but see, I'm not really upset with the way Julius Randle played tonight. He didn't shoot the ball well, right? But I thought he did a lot of the stuff that you are talking about with, penetrating hard, kicking. He's from time to time he rolls off the screen. When Kemba was there, you seen him rolling a lot off the screen. I think we've seen it more this season than we've seen it in the past. We didn't see it much tonight. He still rebounded the ball well. He played 29 minutes, 8 rebounds. If he would have played in the fourth quarter, he would have most likely had double-digit rebounds. In that third quarter, I can't blame you. I don't think you can blame it all on Julius Randle. I think you got to give some of that blame to Tom Thibodeau, right? For
why do you say that?
When the substitutions come in, what I mean? Because what happens is R.J. Barrett goes out with 6 minutes, and Julius Randle's out there with him and Emmanuel Quickly, and Evan Fournier and the rest of those guys, right? So when you look in the third quarter, R.J. Barrett was 1 for 5 in the third quarter. Julius Randle, 2 for 5. Mitchell Robinson took 4 shots. Obviously, those were off of offensive rebounds or whatever. Evan Fournier was 2 for 4. So he did take 5 shots, right? But it wasn't the most on the team. Randle took 5 shots in the third quarter. R.J. Barrett took 5 shots in the third quarter. Right? I mean,
I hear you. I mean, it's not all him, but I'll just say this. This is what I do know about Julius. And this is, again, where a point guard. I go back to the point guard thing with Julius because I think Julius can snap out of it, or RJ can tell him clear out. Just a point guard just to get it in his head, because sometimes Julius, of those 5 shots I probably hated 3 or 4 of them really badly. which like got them on a run. If he just reverts to bad habits sometimes. I'm not saying all the time. I'm not saying they're all bad because it's not fair. I can't do that without looking at the film again. But what I am saying, Sim, is there are times where he reverts back to slow, ISO, bad shot, or late second decision in the shot clock that drives me nuts, and I don't know how to fix it. I can't do it from my apartment. I want to help the guy. He drives me nuts. But on a positive, we have young players that played really well, so I don't want to hate. We just got to pray that this continues.
Yeah, I mean, listen. If we're looking for a perfect player in any of our players, it's not going to be. And you're going to have.
Think Julius can be. I think Julius has more talent than he shows sometimes. Like I just think he.
But see, that's where I think he has the talent. I think he's reached the peak of his talent, and I think it's all upstairs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I think he has more talent. It's the IQ and the little things that he just is holding him back from being a really good player in the league. You're right. It's not the talent. He has the talent to do it. He just doesn't have the IQ at times and the feel of the game. Maybe it's without a point guard. Maybe even with the point guard, he doesn't have the IQ. I don't know. He's good enough to draw a double. So my thing is,
he's an incomplete player, and he's an incomplete player. That's what you get when you win.
Can you win big with Julius Randle?
Not as your first option. That's why we were just talking about him being a second or third option, and that he will be a beast as a second or third option, and can still be an all-star as a second or third option. Clearly, right? Across the league, you got second and third options who are all-stars. You know what I mean? I think you need a leader who's making those competent decisions out there. You know what I'm saying? And then Randle can play off of that leader. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying he could be like a third option, like a Chris Bosh?
Oh, clearly. I do.
Yeah.
I think he easily can be a third option, and he's paid like a third option. That's what Alawaz just said earlier. He's paid like a third option right now. You know what I mean?
So you're right. I just think, he's our guy. He's our number one right now. But you're right. If he was a 3, maybe all of my criticisms where the ball's really not in his hands, he's not making the decisions, because he has the talent. It's more so he doesn't have the good feel upstairs. Right. And I'm not trying to hate on him, Sim. Like, I like him. I like him. But he's got to get rid of the emotion where he loses control.
Right. Here's the funny thing.
Who are we going to bring in?
But check it out. Here's the funny thing. If the Knicks had on this team a legitimate number one guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even a legitimate number one and number two, and Julius Randle was playing the exact way that he's playing this season, everyone would be like, man, pretty soon this guy might pop. You know what I'm saying? Because the attention would be on one or two other guys. Right now, the attention is on him because he's, 1A. Right now, him and RJ Barrett are 1A and 1B right now. And as soon as RJ Barrett gets a little more efficient from the field and is knocking down his free throws, he's going to be the clear-cut number one, I think. And, down the stretch of the season, I think it's hard to say if he's the clear-cut number one. I think he's going to continue to score more than Julius Randle, but right now Julius Randle is the facilitator, right? So, the ball is in Randle's hands to help facilitate for other people on the floor, also to score the ball for him. And, Julius Randle is probably more suited to be a guy that facilitates on not as many possessions, right? You have a main facilitator, and then he can do it sometimes. When that main guy is out, you let Julius Randle do it for a couple of minutes, et cetera, et cetera. Then it looks better, right? Because he can do it in shorter stints. Now he's got to have the ball in his hands a lot more, But I think that's a lot of what it is. Julius Randle is not the number one guy for real, but this is what he is right now. You know what I'm saying? But he's not suited to be a number one guy. But this is what the Knicks have to do right now until either RJ emerges as the clear cut or they get another guy. This is what the Knicks have to do right now.
So you want Julius to be here long term?
I think that if if you get a number one, like a legit number one guy, and I don't know who or where or how it gets here, I think he's a good number 2 or number 3. I really do. I think he can be a really good number 2 or number 3 on a strong team. But what's going to happen, or what might happen, or what fans might want to happen, say, hey, trade him for a number, trade him and package him with a couple other, with draft picks and whoever else for a legit number 1 guy, whoever that is, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But then when you get here, now you're looking for a number 2 and a number 3 again, to see if it's there. So it's a tough way it's tough to try to build a basketball team. And there's different philosophies in how you build it. Some people that say, hey, just go ahead and get the number 1 guy, then figure out everything else. Some people that say, hey, if you come across guys that you think can be part of your team long term, then get those guys and build with them too. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say, because when you look at the Los Angeles Clippers a couple years ago, they didn't have any number 1 guys, right? But they built, and they were a strong team, and then they brought in a number 1 and a number 2 guy. You know what I mean? And
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right, because I don't want to. I just want to win, and while he frustrates me, maybe you're right. Maybe we take pressure off him, get a true number 1. I just want him, if we're ever going to win a championship, with him being a big part of it, regardless of who's the one. I don't care. I mean, that's important, but he's got to do the other things in the game consistently. Great. And it can't just be on and off when you want to. I understand he's had a lot of things go on this year, and it's not just him.
No, I agree. He's got to do a lot of those little things. It just becomes, just like I always say, with our players, we watch them every single night. So we see all of the little mistakes that they do. And I'm talking about all the players on the team, from Randle to Obi to Quickly to McBride, right? We see all the little things that they do. Other teams, they have players, we don't see all the little things that they do or don't do. All we do is hear about the stats and see a couple of highlights and hear that this guy plays defense and this guy can do this and this guy can do that. And then when those guys come to our team, we're like, oh, but I don't like that he does this. I don't like that he does that. Or he doesn't close out here. He doesn't do those little things. You know what I'm saying? It becomes the same way when we have a guy who is our main attraction, supposed to be our main attraction. We ridicule everything, every little thing. And rightfully so, right? We ridicule every little thing. As soon as you have a guy that's 1 or 2 steps above him, now we're looking at that guy. And with Randle, we miss some of that stuff, So it's a lot of perspective. A lot of it is about perspective.
Right.
And,
you're right.
Let me ask Spree something real quick. You're right. Can you hear me, Spree?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
Do you think Randle is better than Draymond? Or better question, if you put Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on his team, are we a championship team?
If we put Steph Curry and Klay Thompson with our whole team?
Take away our non-existent point guard and Fournier.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. No.
You don't think so?
No, okay. I don't think so.
What do you think, Sam?
I think so.
Okay.
Just Steph and Klay on this exact roster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would start? It would be Steph, Klay. Who's the 3?
RJ.
Tibbs is not going to play Reddish.
It would be no. It would be RJ. It would be RJ, right?
True.
Right. It would be Steph, Klay, RJ, Randle, Mitchell.
I'm surprised.
I think Draymond's better than Randle.
He's smarter.
Draymond does all the little things.
He's smarter than Randle. He is smarter than Randle.
Not as talented.
Smarter than Randle, but
I think Randle could give you the same type of assist numbers playing with those 2 guys. I think
it's a great
Randle's
hypo you give,
defensive
though.
effort
It's a great hypo you give because
would be
true.
heightened.
Say that again, Spree.
No, I'm just saying that I didn't mean to cut you off, Tony. I think that's a great hypo you give because, like, we'll never see it because Steph and Clay aren't on this team. But if you're saying Randle can give you that type of similar Draymond, that's how I think Randle really should play, like Draymond.
I was just trying to give you the idea of him as the third option.
Yeah. I know, man. That's the only perspective I was really giving you. And maybe I'm just too harsh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's upstairs for Julius Randle, right? It's upstairs. It's mental and it's emotional. You know, he's got to.
I think I want it sooner because I know how talented he is. Like, I feel like I'm watching. Like, I know he can. It's weird. Like, I feel like I want it to happen faster than I think he can do it. So maybe it's just we got to get more pieces, and he'll do it when he's ready. I can't rush it.
We'll see. I don't know. But Spree, I appreciate you, man.
All right. Thanks for giving me a lot of time, man. But we have young pieces. That's all I got.
No doubt.
All right, man.
It becomes difficult, and Randle's had just a bad season all around. You know what I mean? From his efficiency on the floor to his emotional, his emotional. I don't want to say well-being, but how he's been emotionally this season, and how he's been mentally. It's just been a bad season. One that I'm sure he wants to forget. But and the Knicks have a lot of young players and young talent on the team. They still have to figure out and fit the pieces together and find some glue pieces and stuff like that. But they do have a young, talented roster that one day could flourish if the right pieces are here and with the right coaching and et cetera, et cetera. So, we'll see how it goes. Just looking at the numbers for tonight's game, and I know probably should have read this a long time ago, but, it is what it is. Here we go. We're going to look at the numbers for tonight's game. The Knicks win, ladies and gentlemen, 116-193 over the Los Angeles Clippers. A wire-to-wire win for the New York Knicks. Much-needed win for the Knicks. Second time in 2 months that they defeated the Los Angeles Clippers. All right, so, hopefully the Knicks are able to build off of this and get a win tomorrow night in Sacramento, or tonight in Sacramento. All right, but let's go ahead and let's break down these numbers. The Knicks win the rebounding battle 57-43. All right, they did it the first time they played. They did it again tonight. Mitchell Robinson was a beast on the offensive glass. 8 offensive rebounds for Mitchell Robinson. 11 for the entire game. 19 assists for the Knicks. 17 for the Los Angeles Clippers. 4 steals for the Knicks. 2 for the Clippers. 5 blocks for both teams. 10 turnovers for both teams. The real story, ladies and gentlemen, is the shooting percentage, because the Knicks normally don't shoot this well from the field. But tonight, they shot 47% from the field, 44.8% from the three-point line, still just 63% from the free throw line. And then the Clippers, 37% from the field, 32% from the three-point line, 72.7% from the free throw line. The Knicks dominated the points in the paint, 50-36. The Knicks dominated the second chance points, 21-9. Big shout out to Mitchell Robinson for that. The Knicks win the fast break points, 13-9. Just a great overall basketball game from the New York Knicks. And Tony, I see you, smiling about some things. I assume that's in the chat. What's going on? What they talk about in the chat, man?
I love it, man. Some people, don't like Randle. Some people are accepting that third option, saying he would be great in that role.
But see,
it's just I just get a kick out of reading the chat on my channel. Sometimes I'm so focused in my conversation that I miss out on some of the comments. So
right, and see,
I can listen to you and read them and be.
But this is where people, because I'm gonna read some in the chat. This is where people have to. You got to watch every single show in its entirety, ladies and gentlemen. Because my man Ron, he said, but Sim, I don't understand. It wasn't upstairs and emotional when he was getting MVP chance last year. No, he got the bag and he went back to what he is. That's where you're wrong. If you listen to the show, the one thing that I and other people always said is that for Randle to go to another level or to at least maintain what he did, it's this upstairs. He's got to grow as a player. Coming into the season, what did we talk about? Randle's got to get the ball out of his hands quicker. He's got to make quicker decisions, right? Go back to last season. There were several times when I came on the show and I said, man, I'm seeing Randle get upset at things. A couple times he got technical fouls or he complaining to the referee, and I'm like, he needs to chill out, right? Because he's getting too excited. He's getting too emotional. This year, it's hit a boiling point in those two areas. But I talked about it some last season, but he played so well and he was hitting so many shots and et cetera, it probably didn't fester enough. But we all noticed that he would argue with the referees and he would have times where you could see him go off just a little bit. Right? But he'd go back to hitting some shots and he'd be able to cool himself down. This year, it's not like that. But coming into the season, one of the biggest things we talked about is that it was upstairs for Julius Randle and going to another level. Right? I talked about him slowing down the way that he approaches the basketball game. Right? Because while I want him to play up-tempo, there are times when he's up-tempo but out of control and not seeing the floor. Right? Or forcing himself into defenses. We talked way in the beginning in training camp, talked about, he forces himself into defenses and then he has to make an emergency pass. Right? That part of the game had to slow down for him mentally. We always talked about it being mental for Julius Randle. So I don't know. So yeah, last year when he was getting the MVP chance, I was saying the same thing. People just always think that, I'm on his payroll or something like that because I don't go Looney Tunes whenever he does something bad, like a lot of people do. I'm not an actor though. I just do me. I ain't gonna act crazy and go Looney Tunes every time a player makes a mistake like you see some people do. You know what I mean? I ain't saying no names. I'm just saying. Caller, you live. Tell me your name and where you're from, please.
What's going on, Sam? It's Tony. It's Marvin.
What's going on, Marvin? How you feeling, man?
Peace, family.
I'm feeling good, guys. Feeling good. Just a quick take. Earlier today, guys, I was in a chat. I think I was in your chat too. And you're watching your show earlier, Sam. And I mentioned a scenario, and this game right here, to me, shows the blueprint of it. Of using your draft capital with Randle in a trade to get a veteran point guard. Because as this game showed today, the Knicks are capable of winning now. A lot of people don't believe it. But with one change at that, if you get a Javante Murray or either Brunson, and if you use that draft capital along with Randle, you can almost get anything you want. You can even throw Fournier in there. I just wanted to pose that question to you guys. Instead of thinking of this young rookie point guard coming out of college, how about using that draft capital, Randle, and another trade to get a dominant, already veteran point guard and really see how that works? What do you think about that?
Like who?
Well, I wouldn't say that Pop's going to give up Javante Murray, but I'm pretty sure you can get Brunson. I know you can get Brunson with a draft capital and Randle. Now, that might be a little bit high to get Brunson, but you might be able to get something back along with that, like a power forward or something. I really believe it would be better than going for the young point guard, because if you go for that young point guard, do you guys see you contending next year or year after? But if you get I don't know. I want to say Javante Murray.
I don't see the Knicks, even if they get DeJounte Murray or Jalen Brunson with a Randle here, I don't see the Knicks contending. They get better, hopefully playoff hopefully they're a playoff contender if that were to happen.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the decision of the front office. They've got to decide which direction they're going. Are they going to try to rock with Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett and these guys? And if so, then you got to go get a veteran point guard, in my opinion. You know what I mean? If you're going to break it down and just go with all young dudes, and when I say all young dudes, I'm meaning like 19 and 20 and 21, that young, because Julius Randle's 27, right? Mitchell Robinson's going to be 24 in April. So, those guys are relatively young, right? Yeah. So I'm talking about like super young. If you're going to go super young, then you can go get a point guard out the draft. If you're going to go super young. So I think you have to make that decision.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I think the front office has to make that decision which way they're going to go.
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking is this. With all of the ups and downs with Randle, if you could package him and get a decent veteran point guard, first of all, Randle will be gone. Now, you're going to lose a lot if Randle's gone. But you should listen. There's a lot of teams out there with Randle. I'm pretty sure his trade value hasn't went down, even though he's crazy as hell. But I don't believe his trade value is way down. I really believe with the draft capital that you guys have and Randle, and I don't want to say Fournier, but anybody else. But the one I'm looking at is Javonte Murray out of San Antonio. I'm not sure Pop would do it, but Murray would totally blend this team into something. When you see what you got with Jericho Sims tonight, you see what we got in Cam and RJ. And far as not contending Sims, I'm not sure about that. If you think about the last 8 games or 7 games you even lost, you were winning every game. You lost them because of no point guard.
Mm-hmm.
If you had Murray, you probably won 6 of those games.
True. True. I agree. The Knicks probably win 6 of those games, and if you had Murray at point guard from the beginning of the season, the record is probably better. I still don't think they're a contender. I don't think they're contending with Philly or Miami or Milwaukee or those guys.
But
I don't think they're that type of a contender.
If you get a young point guard, where are you then? Are you 2 years away?
Oh yeah, if you get a young point guard, that's what I'm saying. If you get a young point guard, you're probably going in another direction. So I think if the Knicks are going to get a veteran point guard, I don't think swapping Randle for Jalen Brunson makes you better.
No, I don't believe it's Brunson. I'm talking more or less Murray. But I know you can get Brunson. But I don't know if Pop would give up Murray. I really don't.
I don't think so. I don't think Pop is giving up Murray. Does that make you better?
Oh yeah.
I know Murray is better, but I know Murray is really, really good. I'm not discounting Murray and how good he is. I'm just saying, just swapping Randle and Murray make you a playoff
the culture
team.
on the team. The culture on the team would change with Randle being gone too.
I think you got a better shot at SGA.
Well, I don't think you have a shot at SGA. They're gonna build around him. I really don't believe. With all of the capital they got and the cap room, they're gonna try to build a team around him. Now, in Pop's case, I hadn't looked at the roster and seen exactly what the other point guard situation. But if you give him your draft and Randle, then he probably would feel that he could get him another point guard, and he would have a power forward at the same time.
I don't know if Randle is a Pop type of player though.
I don't know. I'm just using it. I'm just thinking because I'm thinking Murray so much. Really, in my mind, Murray is the perfect fit because he's a defensive point guard. He can definitely handle a team, and he can score at the same time. And I just don't believe if you bring him in, if you keep Randle, it will work. I just don't think it would work with Randle. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I just wanted to pose that instead of just definitely just thinking about drafting a young point guard. You got plenty of things you can do as a GM or organization to get this team. Because if you think about last year, you made the playoffs. You think about the last 6, 7, 8 games, you could have won them games if you had a point. Even if you played a decent, if Rose was there, you'd have won 5 of those games. Let alone Murray.
Yeah, I agree with you. Probably so.
And And if Rose is not hurt earlier in the year, you add those games on it. You in the playoffs this year. You make the playoffs. You're only 4 or 5 games out now. If you tack on 6 wins, 7 wins right now, you in the playoffs. You in at least the play-in.
Well, I mean, you know,
right now.
You're looking at the play-in. You're looking at the play-in. I mean, that's true. That's true. You know, it's there's
but
no
far
doubt
as
about
contending,
that.
I wouldn't say that. I wasn't looking for a championship. What I'm saying is, you build around your success in the same sense they felt like they were doing after they went to the playoffs last year by bringing in Fournier and Kemba, thinking, okay, now we can just, we can get rid of these guys, bring in a little more offense, and we should go further in the playoffs. If you get there and get in the first round, then you know what you think you know what you need, and then you try to build on that. But with Murray as a cornerstone, you automatically get that rock-solid point guard, and you know how far a real good point guard will take you, Sam. You know that.
Yeah. Nah, I agree with you 100%. I just don't know, what guys out there that the Knicks can really go get. Jalen Brunson, Malcolm Brogdon, those 2 guys seem like the 2 guys that the Knicks would probably target in the offseason. But Marvin, I appreciate your call, man. Thank you for your time.
No problem. All right, buddy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if trading Randle for a veteran point guard makes the team that much better, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Because I do think Randle, obviously Randle has a lot of flaws in his game, but, with the things that he does add to the team, you're going to be missing that. And where do you get it from? Now, unless you have a plan to add another power forward that can give you some of the things, the rebounding and some of the scoring, not all of the scoring, but some of the scoring, et cetera, then, maybe you're right. Maybe it looks good that way. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think the Knicks are going to continue. I think they're looking at it like this, Tony. The front office. Just like all of us are looking and saying, wow, the Knicks had a point guard. All of these double-digit leads that they had, they probably wouldn't have blown them. If they had a legitimate point guard out there from the beginning of the season, and we all thought Kemba Walker was going to be that guy, at least for this season, but if you had someone else out there, a legit point guard that was running things, the season could look very different. And I think the front office is going to look the same way and say, look at all of these games that we could have and should have won that we blew. If we bring in a guy, point guard, and maybe even a glue guy somewhere, we change, instead of us being 12 games below 500, we're 5 games above 500, 6 games above 500. And I believe they're probably thinking in that manner. So they're going to be looking to say, look, our salary cap is structured so that we'll have $47 million, or we'll have only $47 million on the books in the summer of 2023. That's how their salary cap is structured right now. That's before any extension to R.J. Barrett. So I think the Knicks are looking to say, let's give this roster one more season with adding a point guard, right? Or adding, other pieces that we think will glue this team together and see what happens in 22-23. And if it's not working, then bam.
Rebuild.
All of these guys, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, Derrick Rose even, all of these guys are gone in 2023, and we restructure just like that. I think that's what they're looking at. You know what I'm saying? So they're giving themselves time to see how the team performs and then add pieces, to try to build. And then now, if they add a couple of pieces, through trades, because that's the best way that they're going to be able to do it, given their salary cap going into the free agency this year. They add a couple of pieces here and there, see what it looks like next year. And I'm sure by the trade deadline next year, they're going to look and either it's going to be a bust or they're going to say, we got something going. And if it's a bust, you might see them break down at the trade deadline. They got something going, then there you go. Right? So, I think that's what they're going to do. Because the only person, it's only a couple players that's on the books beyond next summer. Right? Julius Randle is obviously one of them. We're all assuming that R.J. Barrett will be one of them, but he doesn't have that extension yet. All right, I think Cam Reddish is on the books. No, Cam Reddish is on the books until 2023. Okay, so you got Julius Randle's on the books until 2026. Evan Fournier, his contract expires in 2024. And that's it.
So let's
Now,
give RJ 25, right?
So
Like,
RJ, he has a qualifying offer in 2024 of $14 million. Right? But I'm pretty sure they're going to work out an extension before then. And then Cam Reddish has a qualifying offer of $8 million. Right? We'll see what happens with Cam Reddish. So right now, for sure, in the summer of 2023, you're going to have Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, and R.J. Barrett. For sure, on the books. No doubt about it. All right, other players, there's a team option for Derrick Rose, a team option for Alec Burks, a team option for Nerlens Noel, a team option for Obi Toppin, a team option for Emmanuel Quickley, a team option for Quentin Grimes, a team option for Miles McBride. Right? So like I said, 3 guys who are going to have guaranteed money at the end of 2023. That's Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, and R.J. Barrett. After that,
just to clear it up, when he says that at least another year, they're under contract.
They're under contract.
So that's not saying that they won't get moved in the offseason. They won't get moved at the trade deadline. They're just under contract for another year, and then the team has a decision for the year after.
Right. Well, Julius Randle's under contract until 2026.
No, I meant the other guys.
Evan Fournier, he's under contract until 2024. RJ Barrett, he's under contract until 2023, actually. And then there's a qualifying offer of $14 million in 2023-24. But for the most part, the Knicks are going to work out an extension for RJ Barrett. You know what I'm saying? So, that's why I'm saying he's on the books beyond 2023. So you can look at this roster and say, all right, what are the Knicks going to do to try to tweak and add a point guard, maybe add some glue pieces to this roster to see if they can get better for next season. And if they can't, then 2023, 2024, it's open season. That's the way I'm seeing it. That's the way I'm seeing it. So get used to it here, ladies and gentlemen. I guess that's the point that I'm making. Get used to it. Get used to what you see. You know what I mean? Caller, you live. Name where you're from, please.
Sam.
My man, what's poppin' with you, brother? How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right, sir. I always feel good when I hear your objectivity with the future of the Knicks. You always sound a bit more chipper after a win.
Oh,
Let me say salute. Let me say salute to the chat, Knicks Nation out there. I see Tony Bruises in the building. Your black is still time. So let me get this right, because I think I missed some of your overall summation. Mm-hmm. So are we going with, you believe the leadership of this organization is going to run it back again with this same cast of characters?
For next season?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dear Lord.
I think so.
Dear Lord.
I think so. Because when you look
with the inclusion of a point guard.
Because when you look at the salary cap situation for next year, they can't sign anybody this summer. Right? They don't. I mean, the Knicks have $120 million committed in salary for this summer. That's more than likely over the salary cap, or very close to the salary cap. So they're not signing anyone. The best they're going to be able to do is trade for somebody, right? So there may be some tweaks, right? There may be a couple of guys that go so that they can try to trade for a point guard. But I think for the most part, you're going to see this same Julius Randle, maybe Evan Fournier is gone. Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, he could, maybe he's gone. Nerlens Noel. I don't know who's taking his $9 million. RJ Barrett, Obi, Taj, Cam, Quickly, Quentin Grimes, Miles McBride. These guys are going to be on the team next year.
Okay.
A couple of changes, right? Maybe a couple of changes. Maybe Evan Fournier, Alec Burks, those guys go to try to get, we'll see what happens with Mitch. But, maybe those guys go to try to get Malcolm Brogdon in, right? Or Jalen Brunson in.
Okay. All right. I was just trying to understand where you were going with this. Can we agree that this team was poorly constructed from last offseason?
I mean, they're not doing well, so yeah.
No, don't.
They're not doing well, so yeah.
Don't do that to me, fam, because you know where I'm going. I'm about to have you like Ali in the corner rope-a-doping right now. You know where I'm going with this. Okay?
Then they're not doing well, so yeah. If your roster's not doing well, then it's probably poorly constructed.
There's no probably about it.
But I'll say this. I still think if the Knicks had a legitimate point guard, because Kemba was done, and we all hope that Kemba wasn't going to be, but if the Knicks had Malcolm Brogdon instead of Kemba Walker, would they be poorly constructed?
I think Malcolm Brogdon would have covered up some flaws.
Okay.
If Derrick Rose didn't get hurt, will we be poorly constructed?
Tone, don't do that. You see, you can't. And this is what I said to Knick Nation. Derrick Rose, and this is no disrespect to Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is $2 wine. You can't get nothing else, fam. Stop this. That man is 34, 35 years old. He's been injury prone the last 10 years. And we were banking on Derrick Rose to somehow save the season when he got this last injury or the injury before. That's not something you can't realistically say you had a chance to really do anything by saying that D Rose would have solved all that problems. D Rose is at his best on this Knick team here is a solid 10 to 15 minutes, fam. So you put D Rose and Kemba Walker combination together has one good leg. And that was the construction that you were rolling out with.
I agree with that, though.
Nobody's arguing against that.
Hold on. And then you force feed Emmanuel Quickly into a role he's not suited for. And then you force feed Alec Burks into a role he should not be in.
I've also made that point before.
Okay? Then you overpay Taj, New Orleans. All I'm saying is, and I don't want to go over all of that. I already did. I touched on it a little bit. So I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not going to keep on going over that. This leadership team, Sim, has to think out of the box, fam bam. Hopefully we get a top flight draft pick that we can help to add to this mix. But if you're really going to tell me that looking in the future that you see Randle, a man who consistently loses his composure when you need him the most as a part of a winning situation, you're kidding me, fam. Kidding me. No.
Hold on. A winning situation doesn't. A winning situation doesn't mean he has to be the number one guy. There are plenty of players who have lost it emotionally and who are number 3 guys on their teams, or have been number 3 guys on their teams. I mean, that's part of the reason why maybe you are a number 3 guy on your team, because of that type of situation. I do think Julius Randle can be part of a winning situation. Maybe not, definitely not as the number 1 guy, but as a number 3 guy, I think so.
I know you do. I know you do. You have all this film. You have all this film to back it up. I know. I remember.
Because the thing is, you're looking at him right now. You're looking at hold up. But you're looking at him right now as a number one when all the pressure is on him. When he has to have the ball in his hands 75% of the time, or that's what Tom Thibodeau does, right? He has the ball in his hands 75% of the time. But when you have a number one and a number two, and he doesn't have the ball in his hand 75% of the time, those emotions are different now. Because the pressure's not on him to have the ball in his hands 75% of the time. As a matter of fact, somebody else is getting him the basketball. Somebody else is finding him in his sweet spot. And he's not playing 35 minutes a game. Maybe he's only at 35 or 28.
You know what else happens when you're a third option?
It's a big difference there.
You know what else happens when you're a third option? When you're not playing well, you get benched. Somebody else gets put in your place.
Yeah. So there's a big difference there when you're a third option.
It's a lot harder to do that.
So Tone, you're gonna really sit there and tell me and Knick Nation that Tom Thibodeau is going to bench Julius Randle, that Tom Thibodeau is going to take the ball away from Julius Randle.
If he's the third option, he's not going to have the ball as much anyway. Like, what don't you get about that?
As long as Julius Randle is here, okay, and they put him in this position as being the franchise guy, unless you are bringing in one of the Mount Rushmore ball players, it's not going to work. He is the common denominator. You have to go away from Julius Randle. He's one of the reasons why our pace is where it is for most of this season and even last season. Because he's a 6'9" guy that starts above the 3-point line. Facts. I'm not gonna hold y'all up. I just have to come in and throw my little 2 cents.
I mean, but what you're saying is someone who's better than Julius Randle. And I think that's been the idea all along. It's just they haven't been able to get one. That's why they only paid him like a third option.
Sim, I don't see it, fam. I don't think leadership as presently constituted is going to make that maneuver to divest themselves from a guy they believe they got on the cheap. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna let y'all rock. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to take up too much time. It's still Knick family for life. I don't call him as much, but I still watch.
I appreciate you, bro.
Listen. Y'all still fans.
I appreciate you. Peace.
Salute.
All right.
You know,
sometimes you just gotta let them rant, man. I've been there before.
It's just the thing is everyone sees, just like, everyone sees. You can only see this team through this lens right now and the way that it's currently constructed. Right? So you can only see it through this lens. But obviously when a team changes or players rise and this player gets better than that, et cetera, it's going to change. It's all hypothetical. You know what I'm saying? Until you actually see it. Right? But for anyone to believe that, to me, that Julius Randle cannot be part of a good basketball team, I mean, how many players have you seen kick around the league and then go and be part of a good basketball team and be a third option here or there because that's what they're best suited for? That's what happens. That's how people fall in line. You know what I'm saying? They get their shot. And if they can't make it when they get their shot, then the league says, now we know what this guy is. And, that's what's happening with Randle right now. And this is what I always find funny, right? And I understand it and I don't understand it at the same time. Because we always talk about, and I've asked the same question, but we always say Randle be, if he's a second or third option. But then the next question is, well, who are you getting that's better than him? And that's a good question. We don't know who's better than him, right? Like, who are the Knicks getting that's better than him? But it's not to say that, there's plenty of guys that are better than him. You know what I mean? So then my question, when people ask, who are you getting that's better than him? Then my only assumption is that what they mean now is just get him off the team and we're just going to break down and start from young. That's the only thing that I can think that they mean. Just get him, move him and let's go super young. And I'm okay with that too if that's what they want to do. I'm okay either way. You know what I mean? If the Knicks want to say, hey, we're just going to get rid of Fournier and Randle because they're 27, 29 years old. Alec Burks. And we're just gonna go with guys 25 and under with maybe 2 veterans. I'm cool with that too. I'll go either way.
What I don't think they realize is that makes the road. You taking a long route. You know what I mean. You taking a scenic route now. And when I say that, I mean that literally. You got to watch these guys grow and be patient.
Yep.
And wait and let them develop and become who it is that they're going to become.
Right.
And if again, I'm fine with that as well. That was the approach I wanted to take prior to the hiring of Tibbs, prior to, in that offseason. That's where I wanted the focus to be. Get Atkinson, get some young guys. We got a couple, which we don't have none of them at, now, the young guys we had then. But, you know what I mean? We got a couple. Let's see what he could bring out of these guys, teach these guys. And when they get to where they're going, we'll appreciate it more. So I have no problem with that. And I think that's what they're saying because most of the same people who have that thought about Randle are the same people who have that thought about Tibbs not being the coach. So it truly is a split fan base. And I don't think we got to come at each other because like you just noted, I just noted, we're okay with the other route. But I think you and I both acknowledge that it's going to be a longer route to success. And I'm a Knicks fan for life, so I'm gonna take the ride regardless of which, if it's the express train or the local.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if that's going to happen, it's not going to be next year. It'll be the year after. That's what I think. You know what I mean? I think the Knicks are going to give it a go. Try to make something happen for next year, and build upon what they built last year, right? I think that's what they're going to try to do. And if it doesn't work, then you see them go in another direction because that's when the cap gets cleaned a little bit, right? So I think that's probably the idea. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got here because the Knicks won tonight, 116-93 over the Los Angeles Clippers. You know what I mean? And we divulged or divested, whatever you want to say, into this conversation about, the Knicks not being able to win with this roster here. And clearly they can't because they don't have a winning record. They're still trying to fight to get into play-in, though, but it's evident that they're like, we're going to rock with these young guys, and if they're able to go on some sort of a run, then we'll take it. If not, then we'll take that too. That's where the Knicks are. The Knicks are now 5.5 games out of that play-in. And I know people are like, why are you even talking about the play-ins, et cetera, et cetera? I'm just telling you what the standings say, my man, my friends, whoever. Just telling you what the standings say. The Knicks are now 26-38 on the season. 5.5 games behind the Atlanta Hawks for that 10th seed. I'm sure they'll continue to fight. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it unless they go on an amazing run to finish up the season. Right? They'd have to go on a pretty amazing run to get to that spot. I'm not sure if that can happen. Let me get to a phone call here. Caller, you're live. Tell me your name and where you're from, please.
What's going on? It's Nick in Jersey City.
Nick, what's going on, Nick?
Nothing, man. I'm really happy about this win. They had to end that streak. That was just it was bad all around. This losing streak.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a bad month and a half. They were 22-21 on January 15th.
22-21 on January 15th.
Yeah, it all fell apart in mid-January. Things were going. I mean, it wasn't a great beginning of the season. Don't get me wrong, but I was hoping that they were going to make the playoffs this year. And I mean, I think I agree with what you're saying here about if they get rid of Randle and they get rid of Fournier and they go super young in this offseason, that's okay. And like your man said, that's the scenic route. I mean, yeah, but they're going to have financial flexibility. And, it's going to be like you got to keep taking swings at free agency. It's like if you have a young team that's competing and playing hard, maybe next time around, they'll get those superstars. You know what I mean? If Randall's not going to be part of this team, trade him for some young assets, trade Fournier for some young assets, and go with the young guys and get ready to pounce in 2023 or 2024 when the big names are available.
But we're in that position now with Randle.
What position?
To go big game hunting in 2023.
I think that's right. But Randle here is the right now we're in a position where Randle would be the number 2 guy. What I'm saying is if they get rid of Randle, they got to go then not just go get that number 1 guy, but then they'll have in theory they would have the ability to go get a number 1 and a number 2. They got to go get that number 2 guy again in terms of I'm not talking about. I'm talking financially speaking, the number 2 guy. So, and of course, whoever they trade Randle for, they're going to get money back. So, I mean, I think it's just they got to make a decision on Randle. They have multiple options here going forward, but it's like, is Randle going to be the long-term number 2 guy? And if the answer to that question is no, then you might as well trade him and go out and get another number 2 guy. Along with the number 1.
Yeah, I think the hard thing about that
get his value back
is I think the hard thing about that question, you kind of got to ask that question without any proof, right? So talking about the front office, because you don't have a number 1 guy to know what he looks like as a number 2 or number 3 guy, unless RJ really takes that leap next year. I think that's the difficult decision that they've got to make. You know what I mean? Which is a hard decision. It's a hard decision. And that's why I don't think they make that decision until the end of next season. Because of the way the salary cap looks, I don't think they make it until the end of next season.
Could be, man. I mean, it could be. I just, I think Randle is like that in-between player between the veterans and the young guys. So it's like they could go either way, and he just happens to be our most, our highest paid player. So he really is like the linchpin of like which course of action this front office wants to take. And, I'm kind of looking forward to hearing what Leon Rose has to say at the end of the season.
I don't know if
we're probably not going to get much from him, but I mean, it's like we need some answers. I want some answers about where we're going.
Yeah,
we got good young players on this team. We got 8 guys.
We do
that we all like. Yeah, that are under 23 or younger.
Yeah, I don't know if Leon Rose is going to speak that much to the media, and if he does, he's not going to come out and say, "Yep, we're going to trade Randle." I think because that'll if he did do that. That's going to put him in a bad position trade-wise, negotiating. You know what I mean?
Right. This season would have been completely different if Rose did not get injured and if Randle did not have his issues.
Yeah.
If Randle was even just 80% of what he was last year, and Rose was healthy, I think we'd be right there. And, and I think the whole Kemba Walker thing kind of undermined it. I think Nerlens Noel has his own issues going on with the league that kind of sapped into this season. We should have went with Taj or Sims much earlier, but it is what it is, man. It's one step back, and I don't think that Knicks fans should overreact to this. It's an unfortunate season, but the big picture is that they've got young guys on this team that if you were to take all of the best young guys that we've had in the last 20 years and then put them up against the 8 guys that we have on the team right now that are 23 or younger, I really think you take the guys that we have on the team right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, man. Nick, I appreciate your time. And
Same here.
looking forward to talk to you. Well, I guess tomorrow night the Knicks play the Sacramento Kings tomorrow night. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Peace.
That's another late night game, right? Because it's on the road.
Yep. Another late night game. Listen, looking at the free agents in 2023. Okay. We talk about going big game hunting. I want to know who we're going to get. Right? I want to know who we're going to get. LeBron James is a free agent in 2023. We going to get LeBron? I don't think so. Not at 38 and a half years old. Right? James Harden, I think he re-signs in Philly. John Wall. Russell Westbrook. Chris Middleton's going to be a free agent, but he has a player option. Right, so he's not unrestricted. He has a player option for $35.5 million.
He might want to be the man.
Maybe.
But that is he a number one option?
Right. Bradley Beal is a free agent. Unrestricted free agent. He's 30 years old. Kyrie Irving. I don't even know if I'm interested in messing around with Kyrie right now, to be honest with you. Kristaps Porzingis. He's got a player option for $31.6 million. Kevin Love is a free agent. Andrew Wiggins. I'd be intrigued with Andrew Wiggins. All right, I'd be intrigued with that. He's 28 years old. He makes $29 million this season. All right, so he'll be an unrestricted free agent in 2023.
He coming off a championship. That price going. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
He did. Nikola Jokic, he'll be an unrestricted free agent. 2023. D'Angelo Russell will be an unrestricted free agent. Al Horford, Nikola Vucevic, Draymond Green. He's got a player option for $24.9 million. Fred VanVleet, he has a player option for $21.2 million. He may be available. That's in 2023. I don't see him going any place other than Toronto, but he could be available because I think he'll opt out of that contract. Mm-hmm. Without a doubt, he'll opt out of that. Harrison Barnes, Danilo Gallinari, Jeremy Grant, Miles Turner. Maybe the Knicks would be interested in Miles Turner. Well, I don't know. It depends on what happens with Mitch. But this is in 2023. This is not this summer. All right, you got.
And do you think two of those guys, you think that moves the needle where? And mind you, I'm assuming this is taking Randle out the picture, right? Because that's what the chat pretty much is asking for.
Right. I mean, first of all, if you're looking at, like the LeBron James and James Harden and John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Chris Middleton, Bradley Beal, you're not, James Harden is going to stay in Philadelphia and he's going to get $50 million. He's already making 42.7. You know what I mean? Why would he leave?
Theoretically, I think you get Bill, but Bill, I think he's going to sign an extension.
Maybe you could get Bill, or maybe he wants to go to Boston. You know what I mean? To play with, what's his name over there? So while, you can, say I'm going to go big game hunting in 2023. Zion will be a restricted free agent in 2023, so that's going to be, as long as R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish are here, that's going to be on the table.
I'll take D'Lo.
Yeah, I take D'Lo as well. I would take D'Lo.
We had that conversation. That's what we should have got with Randle.
So, even in 2023, I don't know what number one guy you're getting. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, who you getting? I don't know what number one guy you're getting out there. It's tough. You know what I mean? It's tough to figure out how you really build, how you're going to build the team. But, I don't know how you're getting out there. And if you talk about 2022, this summer coming up, John Wall, he's got a player option for $42.7 million. He's going to re-up. He's going to take his player option. James Harden probably take his player option at $42.7 million. Russell Westbrook will take his player option at $41.3 million. Bradley Beal, will he take his player option at $35 million this summer? Probably. Kyrie Irving, I don't know. He may opt out. I don't know. Kyrie Irving makes his player option this summer is $34.1 million. Do you think he opts out?
I do think he opts out. I think the messed up thing is I think the original plan was for the extension. So I think he opts out just because he's that kind of dude that will bet on himself and say, if y'all don't want to bring me back at my price, I'll get my price.
Yeah, that's given everything that's going on with him, if he opts out, obviously he's gonna be looking for more money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess is Brooklyn gonna pay him $40 million, $42 million, whatever? Probably. Let me see who else might be available this summer. Gary Harris from Orlando. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. Zach LaVine will be an unrestricted free agent. I see no reason why he's going to be leaving Chicago. I don't know what
money for.
Yeah, I don't know what their salary cap looks like, but I don't see him leaving Chicago. Ricky Rubio, Andre Iguodala, Thaddeus Young, Taurean Prince, Nurkic, T.J. Warren. It's an unrestricted free agent. Robert Covington, Jeremy Lamb, DeAndre Ayton. But you know what?
Right?
He's a restricted free agent, but
sign and trade.
I'm gonna tell you what. He didn't look good last night against Mitch.
I was gonna say Mitch was like, no.
He didn't look good last night against Mitch.
I want whatever contract he's asking for.
Yeah, for real. He didn't look.
This is why.
Yeah, he didn't look good last. I mean, obviously it's just one game, but he didn't look good at all. I mean, this literally, Mo Bama's a restricted free agent this summer. Dennis Schroeder will be available. I don't know. It's not much that you're going to be able to do this summer as far as free agency. You know what I mean?
People don't understand.
2023-24, there's more free agents in the summer of 2023. It all depends on what the Knicks want to do with this roster, which way that they want to go. But either way that they want to go, in 2023, you'll have money to land two big guys if you want. If you can't, you'll have money to land two big fish. The Knicks will have money. So, I don't know. There it is. Anyway, the Knicks won tonight, ladies and gentlemen, or last night, this morning, whenever it was. The Knicks won. They beat the Los Angeles Clippers 116-93. They played the Sacramento Kings, so I'm sure they're on the way to Sacramento as we speak, if they're not already there. All right, I don't know how far apart it is, but I'm sure they're on their way to Sacramento to get ready to play the Kings, a revamped Kings team. You know what I mean? And the matchups for this game, and of course we're going to talk about it tomorrow, but the matchups for this game look very different from the first time we played them. It could be a team that, gives the Knicks a little bit trouble with the matchups. They got DeMonte Sabonis. You got De'Aaron Fox out there. Could be a tough team for the Knicks to play. What do you think about this game here, Tony?
Coming off a win, hopefully, this could be, obviously, I don't think we're going to run the table going out, but hopefully they could just end the season on a positive note and live with the results of where we end up. And it's hard to say anything's a winnable game anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just hope the Knicks come in and play hard and finish strong.
Right.
Don't hit their free throws.
Right.
Stop doing all the stuff that's been killing us.
Hey, listen, Tony. You know what? You know what though? I'm gonna just throw some optimism out there. I'm gonna just throw it out there in the air. You know what I mean? We coming off of a win. So let's throw some optimism out there. So my man Ant Dunbar, you know what I mean, listen in for the optimism I'm about to throw out there in the air. The Knicks have 38 losses. They got 3 losses, 3 more losses to go before they secure a 500 at worst a 500 record. They get 4 losses, they got a losing record.
That's right.
The Knicks still have a chance to have a winning record, Tony. They got to go on an amazing run to do it. They got to go on an amazing run to do it. But mathematically, it's possible.
I know.
Right?
I kept saying that.
Mathematically, it's possible for the Knicks to go on an amazing run. And of the last, what have they got, 18 games left? I mean, it's possible for a team to go 15-3. The Knicks go 15-3, they end up 41-41.
I know, man.
Hey, just throwing that optimism out there, man.
I know. They hurt me, man. I'm so scored.
The Knicks need to go 15-3 over the last 18 games.
All right, I'm gonna rock with it.
15-3 over the last 18 games. In your mind, is there any possibility that the Knicks can go 15-3 over these last 18 games?
All right. If they could go 5-1 3 times. Oh, man. Without looking at the schedule, I'm not going to say it's not possible. We went on a crazy run last year. We're going to have to do a little bit better than that, to finish out the season. It starts. I mean, I think they got to take the right method of one game at a time. They said that a week ago. I believe they felt that way in each game they was in these games, and they found ways to lose. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, this was a good turning point to where they could really fight. I think they're going to believe in themselves again. I'll say that. You know what I mean?
That's true. Right.
These 5 games, they believed in themselves each game. They was taking it game at a time. Mm-hmm. It just, when you keep losing the same way, then it starts getting in your head. You get to the free throw line, it gets in your head. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hopefully, if we could just keep out of that danger zone of they cut it to 12, and then now we get that lead back up, and if we could keep doing that, we'd be all right.
Yeah. The Knicks.
The closer it gets down to the stretch, and it's the 1-point game, 2-point game. At this point, my faith is shattered. You know what I mean? We have too many ways to lose the game.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, we just throwing the optimism out there. I say everybody man, it's in bugging. About 50 people left off the chat. They probably got mad at me man, this dude is wilding. He's sleepy. He's sleepy. That's what they said. He's sleepy. But look, they play the Kings. They play Dallas. They play Memphis. Memphis got the number 2 record in the league. That's probably a loss, right? They play Brooklyn.
They just lost too, though.
Memphis?
Yeah, they just lost to Houston, I think.
Okay. Let me see. The Knicks can beat the Kings. They can beat Dallas. I don't know about Memphis. I don't even like the matchup with Memphis. They can beat Brooklyn. They can beat Portland. They can beat Washington. I think they can beat the Jazz. They can beat Atlanta. I don't think they can beat Charlotte. I don't know about Miami. Probably they can't beat Miami. They can beat Detroit. I think they can beat Chicago. I don't think they can beat Charlotte. I think they can beat Cleveland. Play Orlando. I don't want to say I don't think they could beat Orlando, but man, you know what I mean? I think they can beat Orlando. I think they can beat Brooklyn. I think they can beat Washington. And I think, I don't know about Toronto. That's a tough one.
I think you only named 3 losses.
So let me see. I think they can beat Sacramento. I think they can beat Dallas. I don't think they can beat Memphis. That's a loss. I think they can beat Brooklyn. I think they can beat Portland. I think they can beat Washington. I think they can beat Utah. I think they can beat Atlanta. I don't think they can beat Charlotte.
Charlotte, that's 2.
That's 2. Then they play Miami.
You kind of say,
Yeah, I don't think they can beat Miami. I think they can beat Detroit. So that's 3 right there, right?
Yep.
I think they can beat Detroit. I think they can beat Chicago. I don't think they can beat Charlotte again.
There you go. That's 4.
That's 4. I think they can beat Cleveland, Orlando, Brooklyn, Washington, and
5.
So that's like 4 losses, maybe 5 with Toronto.
Spade, that's more than possible. Right?
so that's like 10-5.
I mean, I'll take it.
I would take it.
I see people in the chat like win for what, win why, but I'll take that. You know what I mean? Like you can't go. Don't leave a season with low morale. You know what I mean?
Or that's like 13-5, not 10-5, 13-5. I know. I see people. I ain't worried about win why, because that's what you do when you play sports.
That's why you play the game,
right? So that would put the Knicks at 39-43. 39-43. Still outside. I think outside of the play-in, because I think the play-in is going to be about 500 ball. I think when it's all said and done, I think you're gonna. I mean, Atlanta right now is 31-32. Brooklyn is 32-33. Charlotte is 32-33. They're 8, 9, and 10. Charlotte's 8, Brooklyn's 9, Atlanta's 10. I think the play-in is going to be 500 ball.
You know what pisses me off the most about this season? The darn Vegas odds in the beginning of the year that I felt like they was killing us. They wasn't giving us no respect. And they about to lose their own, you know what I mean? Because I think they had us at 41. Or that was the over-under at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. So
here they are, like.
Anyway, man, I'm out of here. Man.
Let me give a shameless plug. So anybody not subscribed to Knicks and Bruises, come over there, come subscribe, come check me out. I'm on tomorrow, and then obviously I know you guys see me on the MBK channel with the Queen, the crossover. Sim, as always, man, love sharing the stage with you. Shout out to the chat and Your Black is Time.
I appreciate you, man. I see everybody in the chat laughing at me or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because Mac S said, yo, Sim, are these teams spotting the Knicks 20 points or what? You know?
Hey,
you know?
Question everything. He said the Knicks started 5-1. We sure did.
We did. We started 5-1. Hey, who knows if the Knicks... Hey, that's right. We started 5-1. Maybe they go 5-1, 5-1, 5-1, bam, 15-3, 500 record, make the play-in, win the play-in game, get into that 8th seed, knock off the 1st seed. Freak it. Dream it all. Anyway, I'm out, ladies and gentlemen. I will see y'all tomorrow or later on today as we do the game preview. Then, of course, tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever it is, when we do the post-game show. I'm out of here. Be peaceful. One.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Knick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.